Welcome to the Delight Your Marriage podcast. You're joining me, Bella Rose, as I dive deep into the beauty, power, and truths about intimacy. Learn not only the practicals, but the heart behind what making love is all about. Delight your marriage.
Oh, well, hello. Merry Christmas. I'm so happy you're joining me for this Christmas special where we dig into an absolute miracle conversation. So this is Precious Laura, who is married to wonderful Bob, and Bob is actually a graduate group advisor for us. He's also a teaching assistant. He is absolutely critical to the work that Delight Your Marriage does. But Laura's going to share the story of what God has done in their marriage. And it's truly astounding. And that's one of the reasons I feel so lucky to have Bob in such a key, critical role at Delight Your Marriage, because he is such a gift of love and insight and lived out wisdom. And he has so much empathy for his men. And he leans in and cares deeply for their journeys because he's lived similar stories. So God is incredible to have redeemed such an insane story. And bravo to Laura for holding on, for trusting God through the hardest, and then trusting that her husband had indeed changed. And then trusting that Delight Your Marriage was something that she wanted to be a part of. So grateful for you, Laura. Grateful for you, Bob. Let's get into it.
Hello, Laura.
Hello.
How are you today?
I am doing well.
Excellent. I am so grateful and excited to be here with you today, Laura. Thank you so much for your time.
Well, thank you for having me.
You are so welcome. I am very excited to talk about your journey here with Delight Your Marriage and all that the Lord has done for you through it, Laura. So why don't we start off, if you don't mind, with you just sharing a little bit about yourself?
So I'm married. We've been married for 40 years. We have 7 children and 17 grandkids. And let's see, what else?
7 children, 17 grandchildren, did you say?
Yes.
Wow. Oh, what a blessing, Laura. That's beautiful. Yeah, thank you for that. Laura, how did you first find out about Delight Your Marriage?
First heard of Delight Your Marriage. It was actually a podcast that my husband had me listen to.
Oh,
And it was at a time when our marriage was not going so well. And it really didn't sit well with me. We were in a vehicle and he's like, I want you to listen to this. And it happened to be all about something about sexual intimacy and things like that. And I was just like, we had had many conversations in our history about this. And
wow.
I was at a place that I didn't want to talk about it anymore.
Yeah. Understood.
Anyway,
Understood.
so then, but that was the first I heard about Delight Your Marriage. And then fast forward 3-4 years after that, my husband got into the program, and then I heard more about it and learned that it really wasn't what I first thought.
Oh, that's good, Laura. So he shares a podcast episode with you. Did you see the title and say, "Oh no, this is not what I need to hear"? Or did you actually listen to that podcast?
We just listened to it. We were in a vehicle driving.
Okay, you listened together.
Yes, we were listening together because he had listened to it before and thought it was really good. And one of the things was, he had years of looking at porn, and so then, and a lot of times it would be like, okay, and he would confess it, hey, I messed up. I looked at porn. And a lot of times it was phrased like, this happened. So it would be something that happened that wasn't ideal. And I'm sure in those situations that I had as much, fault as he did.
Yeah.
But then he would be like, this happened. And then I went and looked at porn and then he would confess. And then we would proceed to have a conversation about, what I could do differently, how I could be more available sexually. And so it ended up being like it was my fault that he was looking at porn.
Oh, that's
And so that was sort of that cycle that we were on for many years. He would confess, and it really started when after my second daughter was born, I had some complications, and so it was about 6 months, and we didn't have sex for 6 months.
yeah.
And at the time, I was pretty clueless going into marriage. I'll be honest. Everything I've ever learned about intimacy and marriage on the early years, I actually learned from my husband. So, and from books that he gave me to read. But so he comes to me after about 6 months, and he's like, "Hey, this is a big deal. Men are wired differently than women." And I'm like, "Oh, really?" And so then I'm like, okay. So I needed to make more of an effort, and I did, and got to the place, where, we were having again, but he had looked up porn at that point and confessed it. And so I thought it was done and over with.
Okay.
And then I just trusted that it wouldn't happen again because I was doing what I felt I needed to do as a wife.
Right.
But this cycle kept coming around for the next really 30 years.
Wow.
And, where, I mean, I would read books and got a lot of good input, like about respecting your husband and giving compliments and not arguing and not, and I did my best to do that. And clearly it wasn't perfect, as none of us are perfect. And
That's right.
and
That's right.
it wasn't like I had accountability groups like DYM has, so there wasn't that continual, it was just like me trying it, and he loved it when that would happen. But after a while, it would be like, okay, I'm putting all this in, and I didn't feel like I was really getting things to fill me in return. It seemed like it was all about, how often we had sex and
Okay.
that sort of thing. And I felt like I did that part well, which, in hindsight, I know that I wasn't always emotionally as present as I could have been, but,
Okay.
2 to 3 times a week, mostly 3 times a week.
Sure.
And then this would happen again. And I'm like, okay. And for many years, I would accept that it was my fault. And, so, he was like, oh, I don't think he thought about this consciously, and neither did I. But I think he was like, well, she's going to take it. It works for him,
So be it. Okay. Yeah. Oh gosh. That is a vicious cycle, Laura.
Yeah. So it was just like finally, I homeschooled my kids. So, I was very involved in homeschooling and pouring into my kids. And, so that's sort of how we survived for many years, and he was busy making a living, had a business, and from the outside things looked great. We had, a bunch of good kids, and it looked great, and I enjoyed homemaking and doing things with my kids and homeschooling. I really enjoyed. The biggest part of homeschooling that was a struggle was we lived in our house. And if I had to do over, I think I would hire someone to come in and clean it. But
there you go. Right.
but I mean, my life was good in many ways. And even when this cycle would come around, I would tell myself, and of course I didn't know who to talk to, or where to get help, or he had brought it up to a pastor at one point from his perspective. And, I'm pretty sure that the pastor really just didn't have any tools and didn't know what to do with it.
Okay. Wow.
And, so that kind of fell flat. And so then
Yeah.
after
So
that,
can I pause you there for just a
yeah.
moment, Laura? Because
Mhm.
you said something important there. You had no place to go to talk
Right.
to
Right.
anyone about
Hmm.
this. What was that like to have to just kind of carry that on the inside and not have an outlet?
Um, I don't think I really thought about it because I tend to be a private person
Okay.
anyway.
Okay.
And then there were times, though, that something would come up. Maybe I would hear a message and I'd be like, we need to talk to somebody. And after the experience with the one pastor, we realized that you have to be really careful who you talk to. Because if someone doesn't have the tools, then they just marginalize, and not to put, it just happens,
Yeah, it does. It does.
and so anytime that I would really be thinking about it, I'd be like, well, I don't know who to talk to. Once in a while, a couple times I suggested someone to Bob, and he's like, well, no, I don't know. I don't think that would be a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just really didn't know who to, and I would just, within myself, I had a lot of the conversations in my head, and I'm like, he doesn't drink, he doesn't beat my children, he doesn't beat me. I never have to talk to creditors on the phone. He makes a good living.
Right.
We have food to eat. We have clothes. Why am I complaining?
Right. Wow.
And that was where I would come to each time, would be like, I really have nothing to complain about.
Wow.
And so then I would just, go on. And it was like every time it happened, we would have a good conversation. And for a few weeks, he would be the most wonderful husband in the world, in every way.
Yeah.
And but then that would kind of fade away, and then eventually the whole cycle would come around again.
Come back around. Wow. Wow. So this went on for quite some time, you said.
Yes.
Quite
Yeah.
some time.
Yeah.
And then enters this podcast that he shares with you that you listen to in the car, and you weren't hearing
Yeah.
what you
Yeah.
needed to hear at
Yeah.
that time.
And then I think I'm not sure exactly when he listened to the podcast, but about 2015, the youngest kids were in high school. My youngest daughter was really struggling, and she went to counseling for a little bit. I found a Christian counselor for her, which I didn't know existed, and I'm like, oh, I didn't know we had this close in our area.
Yeah.
And so, but she soon was like, it's not helping. I'm not going back.
Okay.
And in desperation, because at that point, Bob and I weren't on the same page as far as how to work with her. And she didn't want to do counseling. And finally, I was just like, okay, if nobody else is going to go get some counseling, these people in my life that I think need it, I'm going to go figure out how to deal with them or how to change them
Okay.
and so I started counseling, and it was a good experience. It's the best thing
Was
I
it good?
did.
Oh, good.
Just number one, I realized pretty quickly that you don't change other people.
Yes.
You change yourself.
Yes.
And definitely helped my relationship with my daughter. And then I'm I can tend to just stuff things, which I believe that I did quite a bit over the years, just. And so when this counselor started digging in and being like, well, how does that make you feel when this happens?
Yes.
And I was frustrated. I'm like, I grew up in a family, no emotions, no feelings. It was best to be very flat.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, it doesn't matter how I feel. It only matters if it affects my children. I think that's what I told them.
Oh my goodness.
But, it kept coming around again. And finally, it was a male counselor because I knew that if I ever wanted Bob to go with me, he would never go to a female counselor.
Interesting. Okay.
And so he's like, I want you to, we were planning that Bob would come the next time. And he said, I want you to go home and really think about how this makes you feel. I was so angry.
Oh gosh.
Because I was like, this makes no sense to me. I'm not the one that screwed up. Why do I have to? Why do I have to figure out how I feel?
Must have been so painful.
Yeah. And so, I think that was the first time that I really actually sat with it and thought about how it felt.
Understood.
But that was one of the eye-opening things then when we went to counseling together, when Bob heard how it made me feel, that was a big thing. And then he didn't initially go to counseling, but I told him, at one point, I realized that if I didn't do something different, that nothing would change.
Wow.
And at that time, it was like, okay, so like I said, I had read a lot of books, that had a lot of the same principles that Delight Your Marriage has.
Yes.
And so, we didn't argue a lot. We didn't, there was definitely undercurrent.
Sure.
But, from the surface, it looked like we got along.
Looks great, right? Yes.
And so it's not like, things were just volatile all the time or anything like that. And
so if you don't mind, bring me to the timeline so the counseling was in place and then he shared this podcast episode that you listened to, and it was definite for you. It was, no, that's not where I need to go. But then you said earlier that within a few years, your husband joined the Delighted Wife Men's program. So at that time, Laura, had you come through counseling and that had come to an end, or did they intersect there? Curious.
Yeah, actually, the counseling was first, and then he got free from porn, and then there was a couple other things that happened, acting out that happened around the porn usage and things, and I had decided that the next time this came up and circled around, that I was gonna, say something really hard. And I don't even necessarily I didn't necessarily have a plan. I didn't necessarily recommend it. I think this is a prayer thing for anyone. But at the time, I just said we had always agreed we would never talk about divorce, and we never did.
Praise
But
God.
when it circled around again, I said, you need to get help. There's help out there. You need to get help. And if you aren't willing, divorce might have to be on the table.
Wow.
And he's like, oh, you want a divorce? I said, no, that's not what I said. I said, you need to get help. And so he agreed. He agreed to go to counseling, and he tried to talk me out of it. He kept being like, oh, I think you're overthinking this. And I just always came back with, I might be. And I was calm. It wasn't like I yelled this or, I was just, I said this all very calmly. And so he knew I was dead serious because he knew we didn't talk about divorce.
Right.
And anytime he brought something up that I was overthinking it, I would just say, well, we can ask the counselor about that. I might be, but we can ask the counselor. So then we went through counseling, got into a much better place. He was free from all the porn things.
Praise God.
And then but I was still feeling very much like it was a lot about him,
Interesting.
I was doing everything I could to keep him happy,
Right.
and he was doing fine, but I just felt like, you know, like
Yeah.
there's different components of intimacy. So I felt like
Yes.
we had the sexual thing, but then all the others, you know, like just there was just so much that was missing, and we would try to have conversations, and he would agree with me, but
Okay.
nothing would ever change.
Right. How did that affect you, Laura? What on some of those levels? What
I
did you
think that
experience in
I
that?
was like, is this really all there is? You know, like
Mm,
I like at this point now, I'm like, I have nothing to complain about as far as all the, um, you know, I have food to eat. You
yeah.
know, he doesn't beat me. He doesn't beat my kid. You know,
Right, right, right.
and and I'm just like, but it just didn't feel good. And I'm like,
Mm,
is this really? And I'm like, I don't even have a reason to divorce him anymore. And
wow.
and yet I was like, I don't know. And then I was trying to figure out, you know, like I wasn't feeling emotionally connected. And so it was a challenge to,
Very huge
you know,
challenge.
to get intimate, intimate sexually because of that.
Right,
You know, I just
right.
felt disconnected. And
Okay.
so I
Okay.
finally said something to him once, and I said, you know, maybe we should just do it less and see if I can figure out what is going on with me.
Mm,
And it was over that time that Bella actually followed up. He had had a conversation with Bella. I just found out this recently, like a couple years before.
yeah.
And um she followed up and reached out to him again right around that time
Oh my
that I
goodness.
had said this. And he was just like, he was a little frustrated with me and was
Okay.
like, but he decided to do the program. And I think he went in thinking that he was going to change me, kind of like I did when I went into counseling.
Yes. Funny
And
how we do that.
he started changing. He started I he's very organized. He likes to plan. I'm
Mm-hmm.
fly by the seat of my pants on my
Hmm.
own terms is what I tell him.
Yeah. Can I
Um
pause you for 1 second, Laura? Because I'm curious about something.
yeah,
Okay, you're doing, and you, by the way, thank you so much for this. You are doing a fantastic job of helping us understand. At this point, so he had had a conversation with Bella. She reached back out to him. He joined the program. You knew that he joined the program. Is that
no,
right? You
no,
did not
I did
know.
not.
That's what I
I
was
did
curious
not
about.
know he joined the program.
Okay. Okay.
Um
Continue. I was curious about that because knowing how you reacted to hearing that one podcast episode was just, yeah, super
yeah,
curious if you were like,
yeah,
yes, go for
no.
it, or okay, you did not know.
I did not know. And
Okay.
I don't know at what point he told me.
Hmm.
Um but he started changing. He started doing delights. He started
Wow.
um he really started celebrating who I am as a person.
Oh my goodness,
You know,
Laura.
because he being the planner, the organized one, the you know, and here I am just trying to get my life together because it never felt like I could measure up
Right.
to, you know, his level of organization and planning.
Organization. Right, right. So these things are happening and you're sensing that he's doing something different that did you wonder what was going on and
I
why
was
there
like,
was this shift?
I was wondering, and then a couple times he mentioned something about an online class.
Okay.
And then I was like, wait a minute, an online what? You know, well, this doesn't sound good. And
Okay.
he said it's good, it really is. I'm like,
Okay.
okay, are you, you know, I forget
So
what
maybe a
questions
little
I
bit of alarm bells going off
a
in
little
your
bit,
head with
yes.
that. Yeah. Okay. Understood.
But and I don't know, I mean, he started doing things he had never done, you know. Um doing dishes in the kitchen or you know just and I think the biggest thing though was like I stopped getting that feeling like he wished I would change when it came to just
Oh,
any number of things, you know, like
wow.
being able to get my act together. And, I, at that point in my life, probably weighed more than I had ever weighed. And so I always felt like he wanted me to be skinnier than I was,
Right.
and,
Wow.
so there was just things like that,
Yes.
like I sensed. I knew him well
Yeah.
enough to know. It's not like he was out there saying horrible things or anything like
Right.
that. It
Right.
was just, I knew, and I knew how to, dig in and figure out how he felt and thought about things. And so I was always trying to,
Mm,
make sure I was keeping him happy in a sense,
gotcha. Okay.
um, and it just quit being necessary. I mean, he was happy with who I was, and
Wow. That's huge, Laura.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And it took, I don't know at what, he was in the program, I would say, for a year and a half. And I was, even after I knew, I probably knew maybe 3 or 4 months in, I figured it out, or he told me
Okay.
that he was in this program.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, we'll see. I'm just
Mm-hmm.
like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Little
Oh,
cautious, a little
yes, very,
just
very. And I'm like,
anticipating. Mm-hmm.
and he had done, like I said, every time he confessed that he was doing porn, he was a wonderful husband for a time.
Right.
And
Right.
so I'm like, I don't
Mm.
know. Is this really
Is
real
this
or
that
not?
time? Yeah.
Right,
Wow.
right.
Wow.
Um,
So if you would, bring us to the point, Laura, where um you decided to seek this work for yourself.
I think it was, he had been in the program for about a year and a half, and maybe, I don't know if he was a facilitator yet, but he may have been. And we were somewhere on vacation, and he was listening to something that Bella was saying to him. And I think like this was the moment where I was like, but she was saying something about what a wife likes, or and I just stopped, and most of the time I didn't pay attention, even, because he didn't typically, usually he had a headset on, but this time for whatever
Hmm.
reason he didn't. He
Yeah.
was just listening to something, and I stopped him, and I'm like, she says things like that, and it was something to do with, um, this is something that you just don't do, and it would have been something that I would have asked of him or said to him many times. And I'm like, she says things like that? And he said, yeah. And I'm like, I said the same thing. And he's
Hmm.
like, I know, I know. And he was just very humble about it, was just like,
Wow.
I'm like, oh, maybe I need to pay attention.
Wow.
And, um, I think it was soon after that, about a year and a half after he was in, I think, was
Okay.
when I got into the program.
Okay. So you heard a little something that then shifted your mind to think maybe in a different way, that there was something for you to learn here. Did I hear that
Yeah.
correctly, Laura? Is
Well,
that
I
is
think
that
it
right?
was more, well, number one, I thought, okay, I really need to understand what this program is that he's doing. It really has changed our marriage, and,
Wow.
rather than, and yeah, so I think it was just that the first time I really think I just wanted to understand more about the
Understand it.
program,
Yeah. How
and
would you
more.
say, I'm sorry to interrupt you. How would you
No,
say at
go
that
ahead.
point you said it changed your marriage?
I think just,
What are some examples of that? Just the change in your
well,
marriage.
he just started doing things that I never expected him to do,
Mm,
number one. But
yeah.
I mean, we both grew up in a very conservative setting where, the woman basically takes care of the house and the man goes out and makes a living, and that's how we operated. That's how we grew up. And it
Yeah.
really wasn't a big deal, even though, I mean, looking back, there's a lot of times when, I could have asked for help. And I'm sure even back then that he would have helped more if
Yeah.
I had
Sure.
asked. I
Sure.
wasn't good at asking for help. But now, of course, I mean, we're both kind of retired, so it's not like there's a lot, but I had at one point said, now we're both here, maybe we could share some of the things around the house,
Wow. Okay.
and
Yeah.
and he was good with that, but that he started like taking it more seriously when he went through the program. And then again, the biggest thing was just he would celebrate who I was. Like if I would make, maybe apologize for something that I knew wasn't up to his standard or whatever, and he'd be like, you know what, you're okay, you're beautiful, I love you the way you are, and things like that. And I'm like, really? He loves me the way I am.
Wow. It's incredible.
And yeah, and
Yeah.
just bringing me flowers and just things that I didn't expect.
Sweet little things. Yeah.
Willing to go somewhere that I knew wasn't necessarily, like he would be just as happy staying home and sitting in his chair and watching something on TV.
Right.
But he would, go somewhere, go out to eat, or, do something that he knew was special to me.
Sweet. Okay. So you came to a place where you thought, now I understand what the program is about. It's my turn?
Really? No.
Not really.
I wanted to see. I was curious. I think I was still skeptical, which I think is why the first time I went through the program, I was quite triggered about a number of things. But I think one of them was that, well, this is like many of the books I read, and it didn't change where we were at until I set a boundary. And so, I found it was frustrating to me because I'm like, how many women are where I was going through this program and they're doing all these things? And what if their husband's still acting out? But I think.
So really guarded. Really.
I was very guarded, and kind of out there with, oh, this isn't good, or this isn't, just pretty negative, really. And I own that. It wasn't, and I realize now too that I think that first time I went through that, I wasn't even able to see the good that was there. It's like, and now it's like, okay, realizing that I did a lot of these things, which was why I could say to him at some point, like after, if you live that way, if you live the principles in the program, and you do have to end up having to set some kind of boundary. If you have lived all those things, I mean, and your husband's not used, like, I wasn't someone who threw out threats and empty threats and, yelled and things like that. And so you go through this program, and if you go through the program and then, and you're living that way, and you end up realizing that you do need to set a boundary, I think it's much more effective than if you do it without doing all those things. When your husband can see your heart, when your husband can see that your desire is for you to figure this, work together and figure it out. And, because he was invested in the marriage, and he'll say, probably at the time he was, he would have been embarrassed if, he would have got a divorce. And so maybe, and maybe that was what made him decide to work on things.
Gotcha. Okay.
But going through the program a second time was really good, because I feel like I was in a much better place.
Okay. So I am curious, when you went through the first time, did you see any shifts, Laura? Were there positives that came as a result of being a student in the WIFES program?
Definitely there was. I mean, I had been doing like gratitudes, but not necessarily about my husband. So I started doing the gratitudes about him. And I think that caused a shift in my mind.
Mm.
And, I was still pretty guarded about, I think, and a little suspicious that
Okay. Yeah.
Bob encouraged me to go through the program. He didn't beg or anything like that. Like, he waited until I said, okay, I'm ready.
Okay.
But I also still was like, he's hoping I change.
Mm.
Like, I had that old,
That old tape reel going
believing the
through.
old things, yes.
Yeah. Understood.
And so there was definitely some shifts, but some of the things were like, um, I'm trying to think of the different modules.
Yeah. No, that's okay.
Um,
We don't have to go through the modules necessarily. I was just curious if any of that skepticism or, guarded approach started to fade away at all through the first time through. Did you start to see, okay, your eyes turning on your own heart and, looking at, what you could be doing?
I think I saw it, but I was like, I've done these things for a lot of years.
Yes. Okay.
And and I was just like, I realize now that I still wasn't completely convinced
Understood.
that he was going to be who he was, regardless if I did anything else.
Okay.
And like, it was
Yeah.
like, my thing was like, I worked hard all these years and it didn't change a thing. And so,
Mhm.
yes, I'll go through this program, and it's a good program and it's got good things. And I'm still cautious that if I don't do this program perfectly, will you still love me? And will you still be where you are? And
So that
and he
was a deep.
was, he was even, I can't tell you how many conversations I had and with him about,
Yeah.
um, I don't like this, I don't like that, I don't like whatever about, the program, just, and it was just things like, um, really picking apart, well, this would, like, looking at it, would have this been helpful back 20 years
Right.
ago?
Right.
And I'm like, I was doing those things. It wasn't helpful. That's how I felt. And it's not that they're good things to do.
Hmm. Absolutely.
It's just that I was stuck in that place of, you know, not understanding that wasn't, his acting out wasn't my fault.
Wasn't
That
your
he
fault.
was making
Yeah.
a choice,
Yeah.
not understanding that there were things that I could do differently.
Mm-hmm.
There was just so much that I didn't understand. And when I went through the program the first time, it was like, um, it just didn't sit with me. And I
Yeah.
feel like if I would have been, I'm a very private person, so I feel like if I would have just been more open, probably,
Interesting. Yeah.
and asked Bella more
Yeah.
questions and been like, I don't get this. Like, even said the things, I don't get this. I don't get how this is helpful
Okay.
for
So just let
a
your
woman
walls
in my
down a little bit.
situation,
Right. Right.
but
Right.
I was just not in a place to
Okay.
even do that yet, because it was still kind of like, I don't know, if I don't accept this, if I accept this program, if I don't accept this program, hook, line, and sinker, is he still
Mm-hmm.
going to love me? Is he still
Yeah.
going to?
And I want to ask you, Laura, because when you started to bring up this part of your story just a moment ago, there was emotion.
Mm-hmm.
What brings that emotion to the surface in this piece here, where you were, feeling if you didn't do what he was expecting you to do, or what was, hopeful from the program, that yeah,
Um,
that it just wouldn't. It sounds like there was still fear in there. So maybe you could just help me understand the emotion that you felt there.
I don't know. I just, I felt really bad that I wasn't, um, like that the program was really, like, I could see it was good. It was good stuff. And that I was so triggered by it,
Yeah.
and feeling like, and so it was that. And then, it's interesting because through that time, I mean, we talked about it, and I'm sure I put Bob in a very hard place of having to, I mean, he was a facilitator, and he was like, and here I am
Oh,
saying all the things.
yeah.
And,
It was hard
I
for
really
you.
just think that it was like, I felt like I wasn't sure that would have been helpful back in the day, but the more I think about it, and the more, like, going through the program a second time, I
Mm,
realized that even back in the day, had I had someone to talk to and to talk about my specific
yes.
situation,
Yes.
that there would have been, like, guidance outside of exactly
Right.
what's in the
Absolutely.
modules.
Absolutely. So I would love to bridge here. First time through the program, walls up, still protecting, guarding those things that you had stuffed down,
Yeah.
weren't able to talk about, weren't able to work through. And then you graduate from the program. What brought you back?
Um, I think that I saw how connected Bob was. He has always been a person who, even all over through the years, would be very, um, out there. How shall I say? Like, involved in church to a degree, and but there wasn't what I saw that he got from the program over the time of being in it. I mean, this started quite some time ago, but I've seen it do nothing but grow. And that is, I mean, if one of our kids comes around and they're going through something hard, he just stops and starts praying for them. If um and he's very much, we've always been both into relationships, but he is also very task oriented, which is a good thing because he does it all for both of us. And um, but
Right.
but sometimes that, it would be like that would get in the way of the relationship piece. And I've seen that shift so much where he was taking time for relationships with some of these guys and calling them, and then being involved in his groups, and really seeing that he was really enjoying it. And I've always been that person that I'm having the most fun if I am out having coffee with a friend, or, and so here he is, he's got all these connections, and I'm like, I don't have very many connections. And so I'm like,
Yeah.
and I was trying to think, what can I do? How can something shifted for me like about a year ago. And I'm like, okay, I could get more involved in something. What is it?
Okay. Yeah.
And one morning I'm sitting there in my corner where I do my quiet time devotions and things. And I'm thinking through this, and I'm like, I think I want to do something with women. And in my mind, I'm like, it's not DYM. And I was just praying about this. God, what do you want me
Okay.
to do?
Yeah.
And Bob comes and sits in my corner, and we're talking, and I'm sharing, and I'm sharing how, yeah, I really want to do something with women. And I think I had a lot of ideas rolling around in my head, and I was, starting to tell him, but getting a little on rabbit trails and all that. And he's looking at me and leaning in and listening and listening. And then pretty soon he's like, wow, it sounds like DYM,
Oh,
but maybe it could be DYM. And I'm like, that's not
I
what I
just
had
told
in
myself
mind.
it was not DYM.
I had just literally told myself that, and yet
Yeah.
was like, God, if it is, you're going to have to show me. I told God that. And here Bob
Wow.
says this after all my stuff, and I'm like, how did he get that out of that?
Right.
And I'm like, God, really? And so, and I was still like, I don't know about this, but I thought, maybe I could get involved, be a facilitator and.
Wow.
And so then he talked to he had a conversation with Melanie, I think. And and I told him, hey, I'll reach out and you don't need to do anything,
I got
anyhow.
this. Yeah, I
But he
got this.
mentioned it to Melanie and she's like, "Oh, I'm talking to Bella this afternoon." Well, I get an email from Bella. And what I found out, and I'm like, "Oh," and I answered it. I forget. She just reached out and just randomly.
Yeah.
And I answered it and I forget and I said, "Oh, I've been thinking about getting involved again, blah, blah, blah." And then I did find out that Melanie hadn't even talked to Bella before she sent that email. So Bella just randomly sent the email, which actually was good for me because it's
Yeah.
like, okay, if someone's out there trying to,
Yeah.
which
Nobody.
Bob's happy to do, but sometimes
Right.
I'm just like, no, I just want it to
Yeah.
happen like it's supposed to happen.
That's right. Nobody prompted her to do so. That was
Right.
really, truly just
Right.
reaching
Yeah.
out to you, Laura,
Yeah. And
because
so
she
that
cares.
was,
Yeah.
yeah. And then I think I connected with Maria maybe, and they suggested that I go through the program again. And
Yes.
it was really good. It was
And
really
I'm
good to
going to
go
pause
through
you
it.
there because you and I got to meet for what we call a re-engagement call.
Yes. Yes.
Right. That's one of the things that I love about Delight Your Marriage is that we have the coaching program, but that does come to a graduation point, right? That comes to a point where
Yeah.
you're finished with the program. And then there's this entire graduate community, and within staying connected to that graduate community or not, right, Laura? And in your case, not staying connected to it, you can you can come back in as a former student and re-engage in the work. And it's a blessing. A lot of people do that for many different reasons. And so you and I met for a re-engagement call. We caught up on what was going on with you. We talked about some challenges that you were facing, and also the vision that you had for your marriage. And I remember you specifically saying, I'm ready this time. I am this, it's a different season, I have a different mindset. I'm ready to come back in. So you re-engage into the program and become a student again, right, Laura? So tell me what the difference was between for you, how you approached it, how you felt about it, and what the difference between the first time you came through and this second time. What was that like for you?
I think just understanding, like, in my head, that the program is about more than just the modules, and that someone going through the program that is going through what I was going through 20, 30 years ago, they have access to all the people. I mean, there's the Slack group, there's the chance every week to ask Bella a question, and
Yes.
understanding that a lot of the issues the first time were on me for one, not being vulnerable enough to ask questions, to like, and I think not even being able to I'm a slow processor. And so not even really being able to process that first time through, that I could have asked even those questions about, well, what would you do if a wife is here and her husband's acting out and she's doing all these things, then what? Or, like processing enough to be able to ask the questions that were in my mind right then.
Right.
It was like,
Yeah.
well, yeah, I can see that this is good, but how does that work if, and just, and I've heard a lot of Bella's interactions with people, and how she addressed different things. And I'm like, ooh, that's really good.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
one in particular was when, a woman was feeling pressure to, be sexually intimate on a certain day. And she was just like, no, you don't have to be, don't put that on yourself for this day. Do it another
Right.
day.
Yeah.
Oh,
Right. Right.
okay. And
Mm.
that's truly a place that where for many years I didn't ever feel like I could say no. And I think going through the program again has also helped me to realize that I can, you know, it doesn't have to be look a certain way, like
Yes. Yes.
and it's not that I haven't been able to, it's just that I think
Right.
we had to practice that in our
Right. It
marriage.
was a new thought process, right?
Well,
A
it
new
was a new thing
way of
kind of for
thinking.
both
Yep.
of us. He wasn't used
Absolutely.
to me ever saying no, and I wasn't used to saying no. And
Right.
sometimes, and it doesn't have to be no, 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 not ever. It's just like,
Yeah. Yeah.
we're just
Right.
gonna do
Right.
something at a different time. But
Wow. I am curious if there was something, like, what was the most impactful moment for you this time around?
the second time around,
Yes.
I think that understanding that, and I've had this issue all my life. Like I want to be perfect myself, and I want everybody else to be perfect. And and sometimes I can get into a just a funky place of, okay, if somebody's not perfect, then how do you anyhow, just the whole forgiveness model with understanding that we're here to give grace. God gives us grace, and the forgiveness model, and understanding that it is for your husband and your marriage, but it's for
Right.
everybody you interact with.
Right. Right.
That anyhow. So I think that really hit me this time, that is something that is for any relationship. I mean,
Yes.
it
Yes.
doesn't
It's so
matter
important.
whether it's your
Right.
kids or your.
Yes. Yes. So, so important. Yes.
Yeah.
Beautiful. I get the sense that the community aspect of the women's program was also a different experience for you this time
Yes,
around.
it
Is that
was.
true?
I know I put more into it,
Mm.
number one, I think. And
Hmm.
so it takes me a while to get to know women, but
Yeah.
like I really have enjoyed the Thursday calls, and just being able to hear from others, and how God is working, and just being able to um just get to know them has been really
Mm.
good. And
So
it's a
good.
small enough group that and sometimes there's just a couple, which is also very good because it's
Yeah.
just a few of you, but
A safe place
safe
to
place for
share.
sure. Yes.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
actual opportunity to talk about those things, right, Laura, that for so long you just kept inside. Push them
Yes.
down. Push them
Yeah.
down. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Incredible. Laura, how would you describe your marriage now?
I would say, um, I don't know. In short, it's better than it has ever been.
Wow.
Um, I never expected it would be this good. I mean, maybe that when we first got married, it was this good, but it
Yeah.
wasn't,
And
because there was so much we didn't know.
right,
Um,
right, of course.
you
Let me
know,
interrupt you for just a moment because I forgot to ask you an important question at the beginning of this conversation, Laura. How many years have you been married?
40.
40 years. Okay.
Yes.
So rewind just a little bit. My marriage is the best it's ever been. At
Yes.
40 years.
Yes.
That is so special. Wow. So incredibly special. Yeah.
Yeah. And, it's been the last, I don't know exactly when Bob went through the program, but I mean, that was the start of it. And then it's just gotten better and better.
Better and better.
I feel like with every conversation, that we're vulnerable enough to have, it just is better with everyone.
Wow.
We're like, oh, we can actually do this without
Yes.
whatever.
Yay. I love that. Oh, that's so good. Laura, what would you say to a wife who has been in your shoes before, who was thinking about making that clarity call and seeking out what it might be like for her to join the Delighted Wife program?
I would definitely say do it
Mm,
and just, yeah, don't wait as long as we did to get help.
wow.
And there's help out there, and you can do this with others in the community, and
Yes,
it's a safe place
it's a safe place.
to
Yes.
grow and figure out. You can't change your husband, but you can change yourself, you can change your heart, and when you do that, it can lead to other things and maybe even hard conversations that you can have, but
Yeah,
you can do it in a community, not all by yourself,
I
trying
know.
to figure out what's the next step.
That's right. That's right. Wow. Incredible. Laura, what was it like for you the second time around to work with Bella specifically?
It was good. I think every conversation I've had with Bella has been good. I even had one
Yeah.
with her after I went through the first time.
Yeah.
And I was a hot mess, if I remember right. I
Oh,
don't even know if she remembers that, but
right,
um
right.
but yet no, as Bella is just so um intuitive and just, a safe person, and I like how um she often knows both sides of the story, which is a good thing.
Yes. Yeah.
And so just being able to hear people well and
Yeah. It's
be an
beautiful.
encouragement to
Yes.
what next steps are and things like that.
Absolutely beautiful. I love that you started off with that very first podcast and no, no, I can't hear, I can't hear it. I've been doing those things. That's not what I need right now to giving it a try. I mean, you did. You came.
Yeah.
There were just too many guard. There was a lot of hurt, really, Laura, that was just covered up and not spoken about. But transition to the Lord, not letting DYM go from your mind, Laura. And I
Right.
love how he brought it back to the surface. But then being able to re-engage here and really let down those walls and have a community of women surrounding you, have Bella's perspective in helping you get to those places, and then here you are, married 40 years, and it's better than ever, and continuing to grow as well.
Yes,
Right?
absolutely. Yeah.
Absolutely incredible. Oh, Laura, I just thank you so much. I love your story, and I love that you are here, and the confidence in which you're speaking about this is just really, really beautiful. Is there anything else you'd like to share before we go?
No, I think that's it. And just if you're thinking about it, just get involved and
Just do it.
go for it.
Yeah, go for it. Oh, it's
And thank you
beautiful.
for letting me share.
Oh, of course, Laura. It means so much that we could come together here and talk this through. Your story is beautiful, and I love that sky's the limit at 40 years and beyond. Let's just have the best marriage ever. Thank you, Laura.
Thank you.
You're so welcome. So welcome.
Just incredible. Thank you both. Praise God. Well, dear listener, I hope this has just wildly inspired you. I hope your Christmas is wonderful. A big shout out of Christmas blessing from Delight Your Marriage to your family. And if 2026 is just around the corner and this has been a painful Christmas for you, which it is for a lot of couples, I want to encourage you. 2026 may be your year to get it right. to do the work that's needed, because you're not getting any younger. Let's dig in and heal your marriage like Bob did. Oh man, I remember that call with him. Actually, over years, I think it was over 3 years, we had a couple of calls. And I kind of twisted his arm, and he told me that he's really glad that I did push him to go ahead and take this and do it. And God obviously gets the glory for all the incredible results. All right, dear listener, God bless you. If that is you, delightyourmarriage.com/cc. That's a free call with one of our amazing team members who will talk to you about their own story. But mostly we're about listening to yours and seeing how we can help you. All right, God bless you. Bye. Have yourself a merry little Christmas. May your heart be light. From now on, our troubles will be miles away. Here we are, happy holidays, happy golden days of yore. Faithful friends who are dear to us, gather near to us once more. Through the years, we all will be together, if the Lord allows. Hang a shining star above the highest bough, and have yourself a merry little Christmas now.